welcome to the next project. This is episode 3 of my unofficial Great Guitar Build Along miniseries. In this episode, I am laminating together a top and a back using a form that I made, which we will see here in a little bit, which is quite a learning experience. And laminating the top and back onto the form was another learning experience. All went well, which I'm really pretty happy about the process so far. Everything's taking longer than I expect, but I guess that's to be expected. How does that work? Anyway, I got a top and or back made, actually top and a back and a top. And I then prepped the sides to receive the top. And it brought me to this point where I have a top laminated together and then glued on to the sides and the kerfing. And it was at that point that I realized I didn't make a guitar body. I made some kind of a drum. I guess that's okay. Well, let's take a look and start the next project. Let's see, what are we doing here? We're centering up one of those original templates. Got a center line and now trying to figure out where things are gonna go as I start to prepare to make a form, well, an arch top form to vacuum form my veneer top and back over. Or maybe I should say soundboard and back. That's confusing. Top and back. We'll stick with that for now. The base I'm working on is 3/4 inch thick MDF, and I'm preparing to add a 1/2 inch thick MDF wedge right down the middle. It's going to be kind of the spine of the arch top shape that I'm going to be making. And instead of carving a wedge to put on the thick MDF, I actually just cutting a trough into the 3/4 inch MDF. And as we'll see, I'm going to glue in that 1/2 inch wedge right into the big piece. I'm ready to start making the form for the top and back. Hopefully I'll be able to use one form for both. We're gonna find out. It may not work. But anyway, a real woodworker, craftsman, would painstakingly carve a form, or a buck, to then veneer over the top of that shape to make the top and the back. Or a real guitar luthier would actually just carve a top. Fortunately, I'm none of those, so I can skip all the hard stuff. I am using an MDF plug, basically, and to do my fancy carving, I'm using one of man's best friends. It's not a dog, it's not duct tape. Auto body filler. Yep, you know I like me some auto body filler. Let's continue with the next project. Since I'd never done this before, I really wasn't sure how to approach this whole process. I needed to ease the edges of that 1/2 inch wedge that I put in there, and I thought about hitting it with my grinder and just making a huge mess. And then I thought, well, I'll try a sharp chisel, and it worked really well. I'm glad I tried that. If you ever need to carve away MDF, a sharp chisel works pretty good. Follow that up by adding some auto body filler. I think I did a total of 3 coats. A first kind of thick coat just to fill in the big voids, and then kind of ground it back a bit, sanded it back a bit, add a new thin layer, and keep doing that until I got all the weird waves out of it. Did a lot of hand sanding and all sorts of fun stuff. With the body filler sanded back to about where I was happy with it, I mixed up some sprayable auto body filler. It's a polyester primer is what it is. It's a two-part. It's got the gray pigment and a hardener that goes with it. But I didn't want to spray it because it smells really bad, and it's such a small area, it'd be a waste to spray it. So originally I brushed it on, and that pretty much sucked. The second coat I used, I think it's a Texas Toast weenie roller, and just rolled it on. Worked much better. It was a hot day, and this stuff kicked off pretty fast though. My body form for the top and back has come along pretty well, and hopefully, I think I've said this before, I'm hoping to use one form for both sides of this style guitar build since I am doing kind of a double cut shape. I've had to keep neck angle, bridge placement, all those things in mind as I do it, and I'm really kind of unsure if I have enough arch to the top to make it look like an arch top guitar, and we're gonna find out. I'm going to do dry run of vacuum pressing the veneers, a 5-ply veneer, to the form just to see how the veneers will take the shape. Hopefully they won't split and be a nasty mess. If that all goes well, I will probably start gluing up one of the top surfaces, top or back, and I don't know what my final target is yet, if I'll do a 5-ply top and back or 6 or 7-ply top and back. I think I'll probably start with 4 plies, glue that up, pull it down under vacuum, let it cure, pull it out of the vacuum bag and see how stiff it is. If it's pretty good, I may just put a top finish veneer on it for a total of 5 layers and call it a day. If it seems a little soft, then I can add, depending on how soft it seems, how pliable, I can add 2 or 3 layers to that initial 4 layer. So this is a learning curve. Well, let's get after it as we continue the next project. The dry vacuum test went really well. The veneer holds its shape and pulls down over the form really well. So I got brave and I decided to do a 4-ply veneer glue up and put it in the vacuum press and draw it down. I wanted to see how rigid the 4 plies would be when they came out, and it all went really well. As you can see, when you get one side of the veneer wet with glue, it starts to curl. So you have to move kind of fast, and I actually put a little tape in all of the corners to help hold it in place while I got everything in the bag. I use a Curb Rescue Garbage Day air compressor that I converted into a vacuum pump, and it will draw down this bag in about 10 seconds. With my 4-ply test veneer for the top and back curing, which takes about 24 hours, I went ahead and trimmed and prepped the face veneer for both the top and the back. And here I'm using a hand block plane on a shooting board, which is kind of crazy, but it worked really well. I actually drew the edge up with that long level, which is a precision level. It's got a really good straight edge on it, so I can sand the veneer and get a perfect match. I tape it on one side, fold it, put a little glue in the joint, flip it together, tape it tight, let it dry, and to clean it up I use just a single edge razor blade to kind of scrape the joint clean, and all of a sudden I have a single piece of face veneer. Turned out really nice. This is, I call it Angry. It's A-N-I-G-R-E veneer. The initial 4-ply glue up went very well. It's rigid. It is holding its shape very well. You really probably can't see much in the footage here because the contour is pretty gentle. This is 4-ply. It's probably around 80 thousandths of an inch thick. I haven't actually mic'd it to see how thick it is, but I'm guessing it's around there. I had originally planned on a 7-ply veneer, and then thought maybe 5-ply would be enough. 5-ply is what I did my sides in, and they're pretty strong. But I may split the difference and go with a 6-ply, so I'll be adding 2 more layers of veneer to this for my top and or back. I'm not sure if this will be top or back yet. We'll see how it goes. This is a learning curve. I don't know where I will end up in the future as far as how many layers I use. But so far, it's looking pretty good. Let's continue with the next project. I took the 4-ply veneer and added 2 more layers of veneer to it for a total of 6 as one of my tests. And here I'm doing a 5 layer, a 5-ply veneer. So I have 4 filler veneers and then my face veneer. And you can see with the glue applied to one side, the wood really likes to curl up. So I have to tape it in the corners. I tape this down on my center line on my form, get it in the bag, and seal it up and pull it down under pressure. I use the sides as my template to draw onto the top and or back, and then took it to my little jigsaw that's dropped into my router table and cut around the pattern, leaving about 1/4 inch all the way around proud of the actual sides. All right, both the front and the back are laminated together, so I have my 2 top and back pieces. One of them is 6-ply as a test. The other is 5-ply as a test. This is 5-ply. You know, we can give it the old knuckle wrap. You know, it really depends on your knuckles, I think, and how tight you hold it and where you hold it and how dry the wood is, yada, yada, yada. I don't know which is better. I think for this experiment, though, 5-ply would have been enough for both the top and the back, but I don't have it glued together yet, so I'm making a judgment call without having all the information. Sounds about right. Let's continue with the next project and see what we can do next. Working the sides again with a block plane to bring them down to a uniform height and parallel as closely as I can get it all the way around. And I'm going to be gluing some sandpaper onto a big chunk of MDF and using that as my sanding plane so I can knock down the kerfing and the sides, get it all nice and level, have a good glue surface for when I put the top and the back onto the sides. Doing another dry run test to see how I will go about gluing the top onto the sides, and I ended up screwing the side forms to that white big flat slab of, I don't know, it's a shelving material or something. Put my inner pressure clamps in place and then started applying glue all the way around to the kerfing and the neck and the tail block. Added a bunch of clamps and used another part of the side form to help push the top down onto the sides. Ooh, that sounds really confusing.
Another big surprise to me was how percussive and drum-like the top is when it's actually glued to the sides. Totally different than when you're holding it in your fingers when it's loose and not glued to anything. Huge difference. Well, thank you everyone for watching this and hanging with me through this episode. Be safe, take care, and see you in the next video.